What's up, everybody? Are you guys able to hear me okay and see me okay? You guys can put in the comments if you can. We'll give a few minutes for everybody to jump on. Like I said, if you're having any trouble, go ahead and just type in the comments to the right if I'm not loud enough or something's going on. Hello to my brother. Hi, Kamari. All right, so I'm going to read from the back of two books, actually from my iPad. Thank goodness for technology. And then I will tell you the titles of those books, and then my goal would be for you guys to vote on which book you'd rather hear. So the first book is called Ungifted, and the back of the book says, "The word gifted has never been applied to a kid like Donovan Curtis. It's usually more like, don't try this at home. So when the troublemaker pulls a major prank at his middle school, he thinks he's finally gone too far. But thanks to a mix-up, instead of getting in trouble, Donovan is sent to the Academy of Scholastic Distinction, a special program for gifted and talented students. It wasn't exactly what Donovan had intended, but there couldn't be a more perfect hideout. That is, if he could manage to fool people whose IQs are above genius level. But after an ongoing experiment with a live human, an unforgettably dramatic middle school dance, and the most astonishing come-from-behind robot victory ever, Donovan shows that his gifts might be exactly what the ASD students never knew they needed." Hi, Marcus. Hi, Hannah. All right, so that's the first one, called Ungifted. Okay, and the second book is called Out of My Mind. Okay, the back of that book, I've read this one before, I really like it. It says, "Words have always swirled around me like snowflakes, each one delicate and different, each one melting untouched in my hands. Deep within me, words pile up in huge drifts, mountains of phrases and sentences and connected ideas, clever expressions, jokes, love, songs. But only in my head. I have never spoken one single word. I am almost 11 years old." All right, so this would be your time for you to type in the comments which book you'd rather be read aloud. So Ungifted, or hi, Isabella, Ungifted or Out of My Mind. So go ahead and take this time to vote. Or I'll pick, which I'm fine with that too. Everybody's voting. Out of My Mind. Thank you, Hannah, for voting. Anybody else? Wonders. Ungifted, Out of My Mind, Out of My Mind. All right, so it looks like the book that we're going to read is Out of My Mind. It's a really good book. I'm excited to read it to you guys. Just to give a quick intro, I'm excited to do this. I'm really nervous. I had a dream that I missed it, that I looked at my phone and it was 1:19 and I had forgot to get on. So I'm obviously pretty nervous about this, but I'm excited. If you are in my class, I ask that you are not spending this time on the chat. Okay, actually listen to the book and read the book. I can't control anybody else, but if you're in my class, we're not going to do the chat the whole time through. Okay, just like we were sitting in our classroom, that wouldn't be acceptable. All right, so I'll read for about 15, 20 minutes, and then hopefully you guys like the book and we can kind of chat about it afterwards. Sound good? Okay, chapter 1, Out of My Mind. Words. I'm surrounded by thousands of words. maybe millions. Cathedral, mayonnaise, pomegranate, Mississippi, I'm already messing up word. Hippopotamus, silky, terrifying, tickle, sneeze, wish, worry. Words have always swirled around me like snowflakes, each one delicate and different, each one melting untouched in my hands. Deep within me, words pile up in huge drifts. Mountains of phrases and sentences and connected ideas, clever expressions, jokes, love songs. From the time I was really little, maybe just a few months old, words were like sweet liquid gifts, and I drank them like lemonade. I could almost taste them. They made my jumbled thoughts and feelings have substance. My parents have always blanketed me with conversation. They chattered and babbled. They verbalized and vocalized. My father sang to me. My mother whispered her strength in my ear. Every word my parents spoke to me or about me, I absorbed and kept remembered, all of them. I have no idea how I untangled the complicated process of words and thought, but it happened quickly and naturally. By the time I was 2, all my memories had words, and all my words had meanings, but only in my head. I've never spoken one single word. I'm almost 11 years old. Chapter 2. I can't talk, I can't walk, I can't feed myself or take myself to the bathroom. Big bummer. My arms and hands are pretty stiff, but I can't mash the buttons on the TV remote and move. But I can mash the buttons on the TV remote and move my wheelchair with the help of knobs that I grab on the wheels. I can't hold a spoon or a pencil without dropping it, and my balance is like zip. Humpty Dumpty had more control than I do. When people look at me, I guess they see a girl with short, dark, curly hair strapped into a pink wheelchair. By the way, there's nothing cute about a pink wheelchair. Pink doesn't change a thing. They'd see a girl with dark brown eyes and full of curiosity, but one of them is slightly out of whack. Her head wobbles a little. Sometimes she drools. She's really tiny for a girl who is age 10 3/4. Her legs are very thin, probably because they've never been used. Her body tends to move on its own agenda, with feet sometimes kicking unexpectedly and arms occasionally flailing. Connections with whatever is close by. A stack of CDs, a bowl of soup, a vase of roses. Not a whole lot of control here. After folks get finished making a list of my problems, they might take time to notice I have a fairly nice smile and deep dimples. I think my dimples are cool. I wear tiny gold earrings. Sometimes people never even ask my name, like it's not important or something. It is. My name's Melody. I can remember way back to when I was really, really young. Of course, it's hard to separate real memories from the videos of me that Dad took on the camcorder. I've watched those things a million times. Mom bringing me home from the hospital, her face showing smiles, but her eyes squinted with worry. Melody tucked into a tiny baby bathtub. My arms and legs looked so skinny. I didn't splash or kick. Melody propped with blankets on a living room sofa, a look of contentment on my face. I never cried much when I was a baby. Mom promises it's true. Mom massaging me with lotion after a bath. I can still smell the lavender, then wrapping me in a fluffy towel with a little hood built on into one corner. Dad took videos of me getting fed, getting changed, and even me sleeping. As I got older, I guessed he was waiting for me to turn over and sit up and walk, but I never did. But I did absorb everything. I began to recognize noises and smell and taste, the warmth and the whoosh of the furnace coming alive each morning, the tangy odor of heated dust as the house warmed up, the feel of a sneeze in the back of my throat, and music. Songs floated through me and stayed, lullabies, mixed with soft smells of bedtime, slept with me. Harmonies made me smile. It's like I've always had a Paden musical soundtrack playing in the background of my life. I can almost hear colors and smell images when music is played. Mom loves classical, big, booming Beethoven symphonies, blast from her CD player all day long. Those pieces always seem to be bright blue as I listen, and they smell like fresh paint. Dad is partial to jazz, and every chance he gets, he winks at me, takes out Mom's Mozart disc, and then pops in a CD of Miles Davis or Woody Herman jazz. Jazz to me sounds like brown and tan, and it smells like wet dirt. Jazz music drives Mom crazy, which is probably why Dad puts it on. Jazz makes me itch, she says with a frown as Dad's music explodes in the kitchen. Dad goes to her, gently scratches her arms and back, then engulfs her in a hug. She stops frowning, but she changes it back to classical again as soon as Dad leaves the room. For some reason, I've always loved country music. Loud, guitar strumming, broken-hearted music. Country is lemons. Oops. Not sour, but sugar, sweet and tangy. Lemon cake icing, cool, fresh lemonade. Lemon, lemon, lemon. Love it. When I was really little, I remember sitting in our kitchen being fed breakfast by Mom, and a song came onto the radio that made me screech with joy. So I'm singing Elvria, Elvria, my heart's on fire, Elvria. Giddy up, papa. This is embarrassing to have to read this out loud, this song. Giddy up, papa, mau, mau. Giddy up, papa, mau, mau, mau. High no shiver away. How did I already know the words and rhythms to that song? I have no idea. It must have seeped into my memory somehow, maybe from the radio or the TV program. Anyway, I almost fell out of my chair. I scrunched up my face and jerked and twitched as I tried to point to the radio. I wanted to hear the song again, but my mom just looked at me like I was nuts. How could she understand that I loved the song Elvira by the Oak Ridge Boys when I barely understood it myself? I had no way to explain how I could smell freshly sliced lemons and see citrus-toned musical notes in my mind as it played. If I had a paintbrush, wow, what a painting that would be, but my mom just shook her head and kept spooning applesauce into my mouth. There was so much my mother doesn't know. I suppose it's a good thing to be unable to forget anything, being able to keep every instant in my life crammed inside my head, but it's also very frustrating. I can't share any of it, and none of it ever goes away. I remember stupid stuff, like the feel of a lump of oatmeal stuck in the roof of my mouth, or the taste of toothpaste not rinsed off in my teeth. The smell of early morning coffee is a permanent memory, mixed up with the smell of bacon and the background yakking in the morning of news people. Mostly, though, I remember words. Very early, I figured out there were millions of words in the world. Everyone around me was able to bring them out with no effort. The salespeople on television. Buy one and get two free for a limited time only. The mailman who came to the door. Morning, Miss Brooks. How's the baby? The choir at church. Hallelujah, hallelujah, amen. The checkout clerk at the grocery store. Thanks for shopping with us today. Everybody uses words to express themselves, except me. And I bet most people don't realize the real power of words, but I do. Thoughts needs words. Words need a voice. I love the smell of my mother's hair after she washes it. I love the feel of scratchy stubble on my father's face before he shaves. But I've never been able to tell them. Chapter 3. I guess I figured out I was different a little at a time. Since I never had trouble thinking or remembering, it actually sort of surprised me that I couldn't do stuff. It made me angry. My father brought home a small stuffed cat for me when I was really little, less than a year old, I'm sure. It was white and soft and just the right size for chubby baby fingers to pick up. I was sitting in one of those baby carriers on the floor, strapped in and safe as I checked out my word of green shag carpet and a matching sofa. Mom placed the toy cat in my hands and I smiled. Here, Melody. Daddy bought you a play pretty, she cooed in that high-pitched voice that adults use with children. Now, what's a play pretty? As if it's not hard enough figuring out real stuff, I have to figure out meanings of made-up words. But I love the soft coolness of the little cat's fur. Then it fell on the floor. Dad placed it in my hands the second time. I really wanted to hold it and hug it. But it fell to the floor once more. I remember I got mad and I started to cry. Try again, sweetie, Dad said, sadness decorating the edges of his words. You can do it. My parents placed the cat in my hands again and again, but every single time, my little fingers could not hold it, and it tumbled back down to the carpet. I did my own share of tumbling onto the rug. I guess that's why I remember it so well. It was green and ugly when you looked up at it close. I think shag carpeting was outdated even before I was born. I had lots of chances to figure out how the threads of a rug were woven as I lay there waiting for someone to pick me up. I couldn't roll over, so it just irritated me. The shag rug and the smell of spilled sour soy milk in my face until I got rescued. My parents would prop me on the floor with pillows on either side of me when I wasn't in the baby seat, but I'd see a sunbeam coming through the window, turn my head to watch the little dust things that floated in, and bam, I'd be face first on the floor. I'd shriek. One of them would pick me up, quiet me, and try to balance me better with the cushions. Still, I'd fall again in a few minutes. But then Dad would do something funny, like try to jump like the frog we were watching on Sesame Street. It would make me giggle, and I'd fall over again. I didn't want to fall or even mean to. I couldn't help it. I couldn't balance at all. I didn't understand at the time, but my father did. He would sigh and pull me into his lap. He'd hug me close and hold up the little cat or whatever toy I seemed to be interested in so I could touch it. Even though he sometimes made up his own vocabulary, Dad never spoke baby talk to me like my mother did. He always spoke to me as if he were talking to a grown up, using real words and assuming I could understand him. He was right. Your life is not going to be easy, little Melody, he'd say quietly. If I could switch places with you, I'd do it in a heartbeat. You know that, don't you? I just blinked. I got what he meant. Sometimes his face would be wet with tears. He'd take me outside at night and whisper in my ear about the stars and the moon and the night wind. The stars up there are putting on a show just for you, kid, he'd say. Look at that amazing display of sparkle and feel that wind. It's trying to tickle your nose. And during the day, he would sometimes take off all the blankets, and that my mother insisted I be wrapped in and let me feel the warmth of the sun on my face and legs. He placed a bird feeder on the porch, and we would sit there together as the birds darted in, picking up seeds one at a time. That red one's the cardinal, he'd tell me, and that one over there is a blue jay. They don't like each other much, he'd chuckle. What Dad did most was sing to me. He has a clear voice that seems made for songs like Yesterday, and I Want to Hold Your Hand. Dad loves the Beatles. Now there's no figuring out what parents and why they like stuff. I've always had very good hearing. I remember listening to the sound of my father's car as he drove up our street, pulled into the driveway, and wrestled in his pocket to find his house keys. He'd toss them up on the bottom step. Then I'd hear the sound of the refrigerator door open, twice. The first time, he'd got something cold to drink. The second time, he'd searched for a huge hunk of cheese. Dad loves cheese. It doesn't agree with his digestive system well, though. Dad also has the loudest, stinkiest farts in creation. I don't know how he manages to control them at work, or even if he does. But when he'd get home, he'd let them loose. They'd start as he walked up the stairs. Step, fart. Step, fart. Step, fart. I'd be laughing by the time he got to my room, and he'd lean over my bed and kiss me. His breath always smelled like peppermints. When he could, Dad read to me. Even though I know he had to be tired, he'd smile, pick out a book or two, and I'd get to go where the wild things are, or to where the Cat in the Hat was making a mess. I probably knew the words by heart before he did. Good night, moon, make way for ducklings, dozens more. The words to every single book my father ever read to me are forever tucked inside. Here's the thing, I'm ridiculously smart, and I'm pretty sure I have a photogenic memory. It's like I have a camera in my head, and if I see or hear something, I click it, and it stays. I saw a special on PBS once on children who were geniuses. These kids could remember complicated strands of numbers and recall words and pictures and correct sequences and quote long passages of poetry. So can I. I remember the toll-free number from the every infomercial and the mailing addresses and websites too. If I ever need a new set of knives or the perfect exercise machine, I've got that information on file. I know the names of the actors and the actresses on all the shows, what time each program comes on, which channel, and what shows are repeats. I can even remember the dialogue from each show and the commercials in between. Sometimes I wish I had a delete button in my head. I have a television remote control clicker attached to my wheelchair, very close to my right hand. On the left side, I have a remote for the radio. I have enough control in my fist and thumbs to push the button so I can change the station, and I'm really glad of that. 24 hours of big-time wrestling or the home shopping station can drive a person nuts. I can adjust the volume and even play DVDs if someone has popped one in the player for me. Lots of times I watch Dad's old videos of me. I also like the cable channels that talk about stuff like kings and kingdoms that conquered or doctors and the diseases they've cured. I've seen specials on volcanoes, shark attacks, dogs born with 2 heads, and the mummies of Egypt. I remember them all, word for word. Not that it does me a lot of good. Nobody knows that it's there but me. Not even my mother. Although she has this mom sense that knows I understand stuff, but even that has its limits. Nobody gets it. Nobody. Drives me crazy. So every once in a while, I really lose control. I mean, really. My arms and legs get all tight and lash out like tree limbs in a storm. Even my face draws up. I sometimes can't breathe real well when that happens, but I have to because I need to screech and scream and jerk. They're not seizures. Those are medical and make you go to sleep. The things I call them are my tornado explosions, are pieces of me. All the stuff that does not work gets balled up and hyped up. I can't stop. And even though I want to, even though I know I'm freaking people out, I lose myself. It can get kind of ugly. Once when I was about 4, Mom and I were in one of those superstores that sells everything from milk to sofas. I was still small enough to fit in the child's seat in the front of the cart. Mom always came prepared and stuffed pillows on each side of me so I wouldn't tilt. Everything was fine. She tossed toilet paper and mouthwash and detergent into the cart, and I looked around, enjoying the ride. Then in the toy section, I saw them, brightly colored packages of plastic blocks. Just that morning, I had seen a warning on television about that toy. They were being recalled because the blocks had been painted with lead paint. Several children had already been hospitalized with lead poisoning, the report had said, but there they were, still on the shelf. I pointed to them. Mom said, "No, sweetie, you don't need those. You have enough toys." I pointed again and screeched. I kicked my feet. "No," Mom said more forcefully, "you're not going to have a tantrum on me." I didn't want the blocks. I wanted to tell her that those were dangerous. I wanted to tell somebody to get rid of them before a child got sick, but all I could do was scream and point and kick. So I did. I got louder. Mom rushed out the toy section, pushing the real cart fast. "Stop it," she cried out at me. I couldn't. It made me so angry that I couldn't tell her. The tornado took over. My arms became fighting sticks. My legs became weapons. I kicked at her with my feet. I screamed. I kept pointing in the direction of its blocks. People stared. Some pointed. Others looked away. Mom got to the door in the store and yanked me out of the cart and left me with all the selections sitting there. She was almost in tears when she got to the car and she buckled me in my seat. She almost screamed at me, "What is wrong with you?" Well, she knew the answer to that one, but she knew that was not my usual behavior. I gulped, sniffed, and finally calmed down. I hope the people at the store watched the news. When we got home, she called the doctor and told him about my crazy behavior. He sent a prescription for a sedative, but my mom didn't give it to me. The crisis was over by then. I don't think Mom ever figured out what I was trying to say that day. All right, so we'll stop there. We'll start chapter 4 on Wednesday at 1 o'clock. So I will leave you with one question that you guys can type into the comments before I shut this down. How do you think it would feel to have all of these thoughts and feelings, but then not be able to share it? What would that be like, and how do you think that you would respond? So this is your time to go ahead and type that in the chat if you would like to. Hannah says it'd be kind of hard to keep it all in, and Marcus said it would be sad. Yeah, I think sometimes in a way we feel that. We have a lot of thoughts and feelings, and we have a hard time getting those out, right? And so we respond with maybe throwing a fit or not in the right way. We did that a lot probably when we were younger, but she literally doesn't have the ability to talk about it. And so we'll find out a little bit more about her and how that goes for her. Thank you guys for jumping on. Kamari said it would be very sad and stressful. Yeah, you guys are absolutely right. So I hope you enjoy this. I hope it wasn't too boring just to sit here and look at me for however long this has been, 23 minutes. Hi, Angel. She says it would be sad as well. So on Wednesday, we'll do this again at 1 o'clock. I hope that you guys can jump back on and we can continue reading our book. Bye, guys.